Is there a
Oh, the
clicker? Yeah.
I'll get you a clicker in a second.
Okay. He'll get the clicker, but I'll go ahead and start. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me. My name is Jim Hassman, and I'm the President and Chief Revenue Officer of Blues. We have a booth right over there. Some of you may have stopped by, but if you haven't, please do so. And
Yeah, we need a second to find the clicker.
okay,
They can click for you, actually.
yeah, that's fine too.
So the next
Oh,
one is on.
there we go. Okay. As was said, I spent over a decade in artificial intelligence with a startup in Silicon Valley, and that venture started in 2009. We took that company public in 2020. It was a very successful IPO. And after that, I was getting ready to move into venture capital to go help young startups that were seeding ideas in the market, develop product market fit. When I was introduced to a legend in the information technology space named Ray Ozzie. And some of you may have heard of Ray or know Ray, but Ray is the computer scientist that built Lotus Notes. Next, he would go on to build the predecessor to blockchain. Following that, he would take the reins at Microsoft from Bill Gates as chief software architect, where he built Microsoft Azure. And his next venture is Blues. So I'll weave that into the story as I go and the relevance that it has on the AI topic. But suffice it to say, everything that Ray has touched has been successful, and everything that he touched has been hyperscale. So I'll talk about that in one moment. Let me go back. All right. So the iPhone is a mega market, but who could have predicted that in 1976? Okay, that would be no one. No one could have predicted the iPhone in 1976. It wasn't even a vision in somebody's head. But it did become a mega market, and there are other examples of mega markets all around us. We are experiencing a mega market right now, and why this may not be new news to any of us, because we've heard probably hundreds of speeches on the convergence of big data, the cloud, IoT, and AI. It is helpful from time to time to look at data. And as a data-driven person, I thought I would share some interesting facts with you. In 2008, the public cloud market was $20 billion in size. By 2023, it had grown larger than $500 billion. This is one piece of the mega market I'm going to address. In 2008, there were less than 1 billion connected IoT devices, and by 2023, they're greater than 55 billion. Now, those numbers did fall short of predictions, because we all know the pitfalls of developing IoT solutions, and I'll talk about the way that Blues helps solve some of those. But suffice it to say, 55 billion is a mega market. This was the market I came from. And in 2008, the AI market that we know today didn't exist. Now, I'm not saying that AI didn't exist. I'm saying that the market we know today largely did not exist in 2008, and I was part of the company that helped build that market. By 2023, the AI market had grown to $450 billion. Now, this is the massive hype right now. Everyone is familiar with OpenAI or ChatGPT, but effectively what we're talking about here are large language models. And the generative AI market a year ago did not exist, okay? But by 2032, this market will be as large as $1.3 trillion. So when you put all these things together, you could argue that we are in a mega market phase. I'm sure all of you are familiar with who Alan Turing is, but this is a quote that I love. A computer would deserve to be called intelligent if it could deceive a human into believing that it was human. Now, we talk about AI and ethics and will robots take over the world. As it relates to what's happening in IoT, There are concerns around the impact of AI and IoT, and I'll talk about some of those towards the end of my talk here. But I'm not. I would say that Alan Turing is right that these devices have not reached human intelligence yet, although some are getting fairly close. Some of the models out there are actually learning empathy. This is the one missing piece, I think, in neurology that AI would need in order for this to be true. Now, in my journey, in my career, I worked with a lot of smart meters, smart meter manufacturers, smart meter deployments. I think I've met every single power company on the planet, from the largest down to the smallest. And the smart meter movement was huge, as you all know, but my question is the name of this product. How smart is a smart meter? Turns out it's not smart at all. It is digital, it is no longer analog, but it is not that smart. It records measurements, and that's it, and reports those back. And so what I'm talking today is an evolution beyond this word smart. This word has lost its meaning, in my opinion. And so we're at an intersection now where artificial intelligence and IoT are definitely natural complements. I don't think anyone would argue that. When combined, they allow for insights unattainable before. And we call this AIoT. One interesting statistic that you may not know is that searches over the past 5 years for the term AIoT have risen 275%. So, if your reason for building an IoT product today, creating a connected solution, does not factor in AI, my personal opinion is you are missing the boat. I get the chance to meet with a lot of customers, and my favorite question to ask them is, why do you want to connect this product to the cloud? The typical answers that I hear have nothing to do with AI, and I think this is a miss. The answers are, we want to see the measurement data. We're trying to gain insights. We want to control the device. And these are all fine things, but these are not new or novel. AI is new and novel, and I think that that has to be part of value creation and furthermore value capture. And just to give you some stats on this, in 2019, which was like yesterday, only 10% of IoT projects were utilizing AI. By 2023, 80% of projects are using AI. And I think there are varying degrees of differences in what people are calling an AI product, okay? And I'm probably the biggest skeptic here. In 2019, IoT devices generated 1 zettabyte of data, and by 2025, that will grow to 73 zettabytes of data, which is effectively a 4x increase. Now, I made a post on LinkedIn after I joined Blues about what Blues was doing, and I actually got a bunch of comments that were challenging this idea that the data generated from IoT is the most unused data set on the planet. It's creating cloud costs, and no one uses it. I do want to address this topic today. But with all this data, the use of AI and machine learning will be absolutely essential. So here's one thing to think about. If companies like AWS and Google and Oracle, Microsoft, Snowflake have effectively created the leadership of the public cloud market, which we call a hyperscale market, who is creating or solving the problem of hyperscale for IoT? Now, one of the reasons I joined Blues was because I saw a founder and a CEO who, at every stage of his career, had solved a hyperscale problem, and he's attempting to do it in the IoT space. I take no credit for the creation of this genius. So what is Blues? Blues is a hardware-led SaaS company that our mission is effectively to transform every physical product into an intelligent service. When Ray was at Microsoft, I think the backstory on what he accomplished there wasn't just creating Microsoft Azure. He took Microsoft from a product company to a services company. And this is what Blues is trying to do at scale for product manufacturers who have products that they want to turn into intelligent services. The company provides a hardware and a cloud client solution. The hardware, the flagship product is called Notecard. There's a bunch of them out there in the booth. The original version of this was cellular, and just this week we had some new announcements for some new products that include cellular plus Wi-Fi, LoRa, and a chips down version of these, so that when you're building at scale, you can simply embed a reel of chips into your design and take advantage of the firmware and security associated with the Blues infrastructure. Note cards are kind of interesting, especially the cellular version, because they come with cellular data included. You have no contract with a carrier. It comes with 10 years of service for the data. It comes fully certified. It comes secure. It is a very, very effective low power management device. It comes with the firmware already done. It literally is drop it in and go. And so we've taken this mantra of it just works, I think, to a whole nother level. Combined with that is NoteHub. Now, NoteHub is effectively what the note card needs to transmit data securely off of the public internet as a proxy. So none of the data that flow from a note card solution to the cloud actually transmit data on the public internet. They use NoteHub to route those data securely to the cloud endpoint of the customer. And we don't have time to go into the solution today, but I did just want to make one reference to it as I get into this AI topic. What are we used for? We're used for remote machine monitoring, tracking, and control across a whole variety of use cases: energy use cases, healthcare use cases, ag tech use cases, massive projects going on in the battery space right now: EV charging, oil and gas, heating and ventilation, micromobility, motors, pumps, refrigeration, water leaks, material movement, and yes, even porta potties. We are creating the world's first connected porta potty with one of the largest porta potty manufacturers on the planet. What they're really trying to do is catch teenagers that like to tip these things over. So AI and IoT convergence is already happening all around us. And here's some examples that I pulled from Hackster of people who have built projects using Blues that have some type of AI or machine learning happening. Some of these include people detection, elevator performance anomaly detection, litter and waste heat map detection, thermal image anomaly detection, pothole detection, predictive maintenance monitoring, and fall detection. So some of you may be doing this and you're like, hey, I'm an expert on this, you're not telling me anything new. Some of you may be wondering, how does this work? Okay, so this is a very simple flow of basically how these edge AI applications are working. Number one, you can use a note card with any sensors and any microcontroller of your choice. You can route the sensor data to your cloud endpoint through NoteHub, and then you can train your model in the cloud with the data you've collected from this sensor. Now, collecting data, we all know, is the key to actually developing effective models. There are libraries out there, there are data sets out there you can use to enhance your data, but effectively you do need to produce data. This was one of the reasons why I left the field of AI after 12 years to come to an IoT company. We were selling to the largest companies on the planet. You know, think Shell, think Enel in the energy space, think 3M on the manufacturing space, Caterpillar. These were my customers. And to find a use case where the end product were publishing data to the cloud was very, very hard. We would keep trying use case after use case after use case until we found one where there was sufficient data to actually train a model. So when I saw what Ray was building at Blues, I saw a massive gap filler in the market, and I wanted to be a part of it. I may be one of the only people that left AI to go to IoT, while all the other fish are swimming the other way. So yeah, you can train your model in the cloud, and you can push that model down to your device where it will run locally based on the amount of compute you have on the device itself. You can operate your model right there, and if you ever need to retrain, you can do so and republish your model, all through the use of Blues and our NoteHub product. Now, the thing that I get really excited about is some of the actual sensors out there are actually now AI-enabled. There's a sensor out there from a company called Useful Sensors that does people detection. This sensor and the neural net that's running on it cost you a whole $10. That's pretty cool. They've built a tiny code reader, which is actually looking at images and processing those on the edge. And I saw last week the first tiny LLM model running on an edge device, so it is coming. And this is very, very exciting. So when we talk about large language models, what we're talking about is generative AI, and you saw the scale of that market, okay? It dwarfs all of the other markets I've talked about. Effectively, the goal of generative AI is to ask a question and get an answer. The problem with generative AI is that when you get the answer back, if you've used ChatGPT, you're probably thinking, this is great, okay? But there are inherent problems with generative AI, and I want to address a few of those in the next 20 seconds. One of the problems is that these models hallucinate, okay? Another problem is that there is no explainability that comes back to you. Now, if you're trying to write a paper for your class, maybe you don't care. But if you're trying to do prediction on a physical asset in the wild, you care a lot about what's being predicted, and you're going to want to know why. So my advice to you, okay, this is me giving you guys counsel, is that if you're trying to implement large language models on IoT, please, please, please spend the bulk of your time building explainability frameworks for the operators that are going to be receiving this information. Here's why this result came back, and is this a positive, a negative, or a neutral result? How solid is it, right? That's really the question we want to know. Cybersecurity, data, and privacy ethics are serious concerns. 57% of IoT devices are susceptible by attack to malicious actors. So I want to talk about security for 2 seconds. Devices built with Blues do not contain information about people. There is no PII, okay? Data are not transmitted over the public internet. Data are fully encrypted from device to the cloud. And note cards that I mentioned earlier come with a secure element where the keys and certs are flashed on them at the point of manufacturing. I've talked about explainability, but as it relates to ethics around some of these things, I'm just going to focus on the bottom line right here with something that my mom used to tell me growing up. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I think there are certain types of use cases where the approach of AI needs to be seriously questioned. For example, I don't think any of us would want to know our own genome sequences and the date of our death naturally. It's not something I want to know. So there are points of ethics, I think, in some of these use cases that we shouldn't tap into. In conclusion, the convergence of AI and IoT really has created a mega market. Blues is approaching this market as the IoT hyperscaler hard stop. Our ambition is hundreds of millions of devices flowing through NoteHub. And we do take cybersecurity, data privacy, and ethics very seriously. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and I guess I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jim. I think you brought the most recent and urgent questions of an AI market also here now to a more IoT space. Very exciting topics, and also thank you for raising some concerns and maybe putting some people on the right track, avoiding some pitfalls in that process. Very much. Does anybody have questions from the audience to Jim? No question for now. But I'm actually quite curious. Blues has done some announcements in the last days. So you've talked about a lot of products you're having. You spoke also about the track record. So now I'm very curious. The new announcements, what products have you announced, and are they going to hyperscale too?
Yeah, our whole goal is to make it simple for any developer to use any radio access technology backhaul with a single swappable piece of hardware. You don't need to be an expert in cellular. You don't need to be an expert in LoRa. You don't need to be an expert in Wi-Fi. We've taken care of all of the heavy lifting. You simply pop the note card in, add whatever controller or microprocessor you want to your device and any sensors. You spend your time creating value, not worrying about all of the things associated with those backhauls, the security, the compliance certification that goes with it. And so yes, we do intend all of those to be hyperscale use. Some of those markets are bigger than others, but there isn't one radio access technology that solves all problems. And you could assume that we're working on others. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, let's give another round of applause for Jim. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Yeah.